Hello and welcome. Here's what's happening right now. Another day, another crucial test for Mark Carney.
Yeas pour 30 tons, nays contre 307 307.
Find out which parties supported the government in the second confidence vote this week.
My car insurance, the fuel, my phone bill, my rent.
It's getting harder all the time.
The crushing cost of living and the difficult choices facing Canadian families.
This is as loud as it's been all night.
Plus, how the world's tallest teenager from Canada just broke another record.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Mark Carney's government is still standing after facing yet another test on Parliament Hill today. The Liberals survived a second confidence vote in as many days, just as Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre faced more questions over a second MP announcing plans to leave his party. CTV's Rachel Aiello has the latest developments from Ottawa and joins us with the details. Rachel.
Heather, MP Matt Jeneroux says he likely won't be leaving until the spring. But if the opposition are counting on the outgoing Albertans' vote, it's worth noting he didn't cast one in either last night's or today's confidence tests.
How many seats do you need to have a majority?
I can't remember.
Do you want to answer?
Need a couple. So call your local MP if they're not a Liberal and tell them.
Prime Minister Mark Carney joking about gaining more MPs after Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre lost a second in as many days. Multiple sources say Matt Jeneroux was in talks with senior Liberal staffers about crossing the floor this week. But Conservative Party officials made it clear there would be consequences if he did. Jeneroux pushing back, posting a second statement, insisting there was no coercion involved in his decision to resign. The party now saying his announcement was expedited by Liberal pressure tactics.
The only rumors I've heard of intimidation and harassment are from Liberals badgering Conservatives in elevators and calling them at home.
The drama driving chatter among MPs ahead of a second confidence vote in the Commons today.
Matt's been a wonderful colleague, and I wish him all the best.
I think there's some soul-searching going on.
Monsieur McKinnon gets no.
The government survived the Bloc Québécois attempt to reject the budget. And now Liberals will spend the next week selling their spending plans before the key final vote on November 17th.
I sure hope that the opposition parties see how much is in that budget for their own regions.
The Liberals got one seat closer this week with MP Chris D'Entremont crossing the floor, but are still a few votes shy of a majority government. And with the Conservatives and Bloc making their opposition to the budget clear, the focus will be on how the NDP vote or don't the week after next. Heather?
Rachel Aiello in Ottawa. Thank you. Gunshots at a British Columbia farm last night signaled the definitive end of a months-long legal battle over the fate of hundreds of ostriches. Workers with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency have now finished their cull of the birds after the Supreme Court declined to hear an appeal to save them. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver now with more on a case that has garnered international headlines. Annie.
Heather, the CFIA brought in professional marksmen to fulfill the cull order. Supporters who were there overnight say they're heartbroken and angry. A makeshift pen once packed with ostriches, now quiet and empty of live birds after staff with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency culled the flock at BC's Universal Ostrich Farm overnight, as protesters stood by, fighting the court order until the very end.
They were healthy. They were full of life, full of love, and they stripped a family of everything that they've loved for 35 years.
The saga began last December when 69 ostriches died on the farm. The CFIA found traces of avian flu in 2 carcasses and ordered the flock culled to contain the virus. The owners fought and lost in 3 different courts, including the Supreme Court of Canada Thursday morning. Hours after that controversial decision, the CFIA quarantined the farm and began shooting the flock.
There's been a lot of passion and a lot of emotion, certainly from the protesters. And of course, when the decision came down, the mood was quite somber in the morning. Once the CFIA operation began, certainly those emotions bubbled up a bit.
The department refused an interview request, but in a statement said, after consulting with experts experienced in managing ostrich disease outbreaks, the CFIA concluded that the most appropriate and humane option was to use professional marksmen in a controlled on-farm setting. All depopulation activities were completed under CFIA veterinary supervision.
They were full of life.
The CFIA says its operation respected all provincial and federal animal welfare standards, but the owners of the farm disagree.
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency just murdered hundreds of helpless, defenseless animals in a torturous way.
The RCMP remain on site at the request of the CFIA, who are in the process of removing the birds from the farm. Heather.
CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver in Ottawa. Thank you, Annie. The Canadian economy has surprised business analysts by adding 67,000 jobs last month. The overall unemployment rate was also down slightly to 6.9%. CTV's Heather Wright now on the numbers and the story they tell about the labor market. Heather.
Well, certainly some good and surprising news in this jobs report, but uncertainty remains, and it is still a tough time for those looking for work.
For an economy that has been blindsided by U.S. tariffs, today's job numbers are welcome news. Unemployment is down, wages are up, and even some sectors like manufacturing and transportation, which lost a significant number of jobs in the summer, appear to be rebounding.
Over the course of September and October, we're actually seeing kind of a recovery in these sectors, and the sort of the level of employment in both sectors, we're now back to where they were kind of closer to the spring.
Canada added 67,000 jobs last month, with the overall unemployment rate dipping slightly to 6.9%. And while experts say this jobs report is a sign the labor market is beginning to recover, many are still struggling.
I've been applying to more than 100 jobs.
Catherine So is 22 years old and has been searching for months for a job as an early childhood educator. She's open to other jobs as well to help pay the rent, but she's struggling to find anything.
I'm definitely concerned about not landing a job as soon as possible, especially because I don't have much money saved up.
So is not alone. The youth unemployment rate is the highest it has been in decades, though it did drop from 14.7% in September to 14.1% last month. Another area economists are watching is part-time work. All of October's job gains were part-time positions, a sign of uncertainty in the market.
When businesses are looking to hire, they don't want to hire full-time because they're not sure what the coming year is going to look like.
This strong jobs report now has many economists speculating the Bank of Canada will hold its overnight lending rate at its next rate announcement in December after 2 consecutive cuts. Heather.
CTV's Heather Wright reporting in Toronto for us. Thank you. More than 2,000 flights were canceled or delayed at dozens of busy American airports today as the government shutdown rolls on. A shortage of air traffic controllers who aren't being paid is grounding planes and frustrating travel plans. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malvin now on the chaos that is about to get worse. Joy.
Heather, as these new restrictions begin to kick in at American airports, you can just feel the frustration from passengers.
The anxiety from it was crazy, like all morning, just like seeing if we were going to be good to go, you know? So, I don't know, it kind of sucks.
For travelers, it kind of does. With all eyes on the skies, thousands of flights are being delayed or grounded.
We stayed at a hotel last night that was, $150 out of pocket. Now we're going to be another, couple of $100 out of pocket, taking a rental car, driving it down.
And it's going to get a lot worse. Major airlines ordered by the Trump administration to drastically cut domestic flights at 40 of the busiest airports in America, ramping up flight reductions by 10% or more by next week, until this government shutdown ends.
It is not a science, it is an art that we're trying to deploy to keep people safe in the airspace. We're trying to prevent the pressure that we now see building in the system.
Thousands of TSA screening agents and air traffic controllers, essential workers who keep the skies safe, are working without pay, with reports of burnout and calling in sick.
When you don't pay somebody for 37 days and say, hey, just keep showing up and do your best, people are going to have issues.
Canadians bound for the U.S. could get caught in the chaos.
The major airlines here in Canada will start to pull back on their flights because they don't have the slots to get in. But also, it's the overflying flights. Going down to the Caribbean, going down to South America. They have to fly over the U.S.
Fed up, angry, and pointing the finger at the politicians.
It's just all unexpected. I'm just sick of it. It's like, what about us?
These flight cuts are expected to disrupt holiday plans, and with the Thanksgiving travel rush just weeks away, the timing couldn't be worse. Heather?
CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin. A group of mothers in Chicago were arrested and taken away by police today after protesting immigration raids in their communities. The women sat down in front of an ICE detention center. Many were zip-tied and removed without resisting. The mothers say they joined the demonstration because they feel not enough people are speaking out.
In my school, at the elementary school, we have to walk children to and from school because their immigrant parents are afraid to leave the house.
Protests intensified this week after federal ICE agents raided a daycare center, arresting a teacher in front of the children. As Jamaica slowly recovers from last month's devastating hurricane, the High Commissioner of the Caribbean nation is thanking Canada for its support. The federal government authorized $7 million of humanitarian assistance. CTV's John Vanavalley-Rao was at the High Commission in Toronto today. John, what are you hearing?
Heather, the UN says Melissa was the worst climate disaster ever in Jamaica, and the outpouring of support from Canadians has been most welcome. There was just so much damage done in Jamaica, some think it'll take a generation to fully recover. And it's scenes like this of communities devastated that has led to a heartwarming response from Canadians from coast to coast.
Thank you so much for all the love and support.
At the Jamaican consulate in Toronto, officials expressing gratitude for the very latest offer to help from the Kiwanis Foundation, with donations of food, medication, and other needed items being collected by all sorts of groups who've also been holding fundraisers.
We're getting the help right now, but it's going to be something that we need to sustain for a while.
Some 24 communities in Jamaica remain cut off by landslides and flooding. Around 500,000 people have been displaced, and one estimate puts damages at $6 billion U.S.
Initial estimates show that the damage caused is approximately the equivalent of 30% of Jamaica's GDP, a figure that's expected to rise.
This is the house of my cousin.
Chris Price is originally from Jamaica and showed us video of his cousin's home, which was essentially destroyed, along with his sister's place. As is common on the island, neither had insurance, so Price set up a GoFundMe to help them rebuild.
From the pictures that we're seeing, it's catastrophic, right? You might as well just toss everything out because there's nothing that is retrievable there.
It's estimated roofs were ripped off of 120,000 structures, with help coming from many nations. Meanwhile, a Canadian Forces team of about 20 members is now in Jamaica, assisting Global Affairs in assessing the situation on the ground. Heather.
CTV's John Vanavalley-Rao in Toronto. Chinese tariffs are hard enough as it is for Canadian farmers producing yellow peas in the prairies, but they're now facing tariffs from their second biggest market. As of November 1st, India introduced a tariff of 30%. CTV's Allison Bamford spoke with one farmer about the double tariff trouble. Allison.
Well, Heather, they say there's no good time for tariffs, and certainly not when farmers are looking to sell some of what they just harvested.
This year's pea crop isn't worth much these days. Prices taking a bigger hit than canola, down 43% since China imposed its tariffs on both crops earlier this year.
So where we were getting 12 to 14 bucks in 24 a bushel, today we're getting 7.
Adding pressure to the price, at the start of the month, India slapped a 30% tariff on imported yellow peas, a 1-2 punch from Canada's biggest pea buyers that make up about 70% of the export market.
It's never good news when you get a message that there's a 30% tariff. It's very frustrating because it's out of your control. You have enough challenges as a grower.
Yuzwa finished harvesting his peas in August. They're in the bins, and he said they'll stay there for now, waiting for better prices. But he can't hold off for too long.
I believe these are bumps in the road which will pass, but the question is when.
The industry is working to diversify its markets, hoping to expand in Southeast Asia while seeing some promise in the dog food and pea protein markets. But all that takes time and still might not replace demand from China and India.
Hopefully we can, replace a certain portion of it, but I'm doubtful that we're able to replace it all.
Producers say best case scenario is reopening the markets with China and India. Now, India says it imposed its tariffs to help support its domestic pea production. Producers here say that could be hard to negotiate, but they are hopeful that Ottawa can at least strike a deal with China and get trade going again. Heather?
Alison Bamford in Saskatoon. We are getting a troubling look at the cost of living crisis. A new Nanos survey for CTV News found more than 1 in 5 Canadians skipped paying a bill in order to afford groceries. The numbers highlighting a regional divide, with Atlantic Canadians feeling the most strain. CTV's Maria Saru is talking to shoppers in Charlottetown. Maria, what are they sharing?
Heather, every time those doors open behind me, people come out carrying staples, but some say they're delaying payments from electric bills to credit cards to keep their families fed. And the data suggests it's an issue coast to coast. The doors swish open at this Charlottetown store. Carts rattle out and islanders load groceries into their cars. But some say putting food on the table comes with trade-offs.
It's getting harder all the time.
I usually try to aim for as many sales as I can.
The more it's getting higher, it's affecting our daily bills. My car insurance, the fuel, my phone bill, my rent, the groceries, and all that stuff.
New Nanos research for CTV News found 1 in 5 Canadians have skipped paying bills to buy groceries in the past year, and those under 55 were 4 times more likely to do so. Inflation and high housing costs are major factors contributing to the generational divide, says Chief Data Scientist Nick Nanos.
What's clear is that there's a significant proportion of Canadians that are facing those really tough choices. It's quite striking. I think in any other world, this would be considered an epidemic.
13% said they skipped bills sometimes or often, but a regional breakdown shows that number is highest in the Atlantic provinces at 24.2%. The data aligns with other research, says Joshua Smee with Food First NL.
All 4 provinces have upwards of 25% of people being food insecure. Our unemployment rate has generally been higher than the rest of the country. There are more people struggling economically.
He adds that means a higher number of people relying on social assistance or income supports. Shoppers here tell me what would really help is lower prices at the grocery store. But for now, many will keep making compromises. Heather.
Maria Saru in Charlottetown. The Grammy nominations are out today, and Canadians like Drake and Tate McRae are up for awards, along with 4 nominations for Justin Bieber. That's one of his nominated hit songs, Daisy's up for Best Pop Solo Performance. Another hit song, Yukon, is up for Best R&B Performance. And his album, Swag, is nominated for Best Pop Vocal Album and Album of the Year. The Grammy Awards are on February 1st. As we head towards Remembrance Day, Canadians across the country are finding ways to honor those who served, including Indigenous veterans. CTV's Alex Karpa has more on their stories of sacrifice.
Indigenous veterans honored on the eve of Indigenous Veterans Day. It's a time commemorating the service and sacrifice Indigenous members gave to Canada's military. Wandi Wakita began serving in 1958 and did peacekeeping missions in Germany and Cyprus. He says this time of year is emotional for him.
That was not our war. We volunteered to go because we want to look after our land.
Veterans Affairs Canada says more than 4,000 Indigenous people served during the First World War, with well over 3,000 more answering the call during the Second World War. Hundreds more expanded duties in the Korean War. Devin Beaudry joined the military in 1978 when he was just 18 years old, spending 35 years in the Royal Canadian Air Force. For Beaudry, it's a time to remember all those who came before him.
Sergeant Tommy Prince, remembering him and his sacrifices that he made, not just for Canada, but also for his communities, and how they treated him when he got back.
Systemic discrimination against Indigenous veterans began as soon as they returned home from service.
I acknowledged we failed you.
The Canadian Armed Forces recently apologized for its role in the racial discrimination and harassment current and former members faced while on the job. For Wakita, he wants to see peace around the world.
I want all of us to live together in good way.
Indigenous Veterans Day was recognized by the federal government in 1994. The latest numbers show that there are 23,000 Indigenous veterans across the country, with around 2,700 Indigenous members serving today. Heather.
Alex, thank you. A Canadian basketball player who is also the world's tallest teenager set the bar high again last night with a brand new record.
And this crowd is in a frenzy because Olivier Rioux has just taken the shirt off, and he's getting set to not only enter this game, but break the record.
7'9" Olivier Rioux is now the tallest person to ever play U.S. college basketball. The crowd chanted, "We want Ollie," before the coach put him into the game for the final 2 minutes.
It felt great. The support from everybody was amazing, even on the bench and even in the fans. I think everybody supported, and I'm very grateful.
The 19-year-old from Terrebonne, Quebec, is used to getting a lot of attention, including a profile by W5 2 years ago. His teammates say he has worked hard to get here.
When he was checking into the game, I kind of stopped him, and I was like, play with confidence. You've worked your butt off for 2 years now to get to this spot. Now's your moment.
A big moment, but a very calm reaction by Rioux when asked about setting the record.
It's another day, I guess.
And for some more perspective, number 22 there on the right is 6'8". That is our newscast for this Friday. Thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm Heather Butts. Your local CTV News starts right now.